KMSU.
Hey, it's Thomas Dolby looking for Dustin.
Yes, this is Dustin. How you doing?
And I'm so hard. I'm good to go now if you're ready.
All right, excellent. I'm here with my co-host, Ton.
Hey there, how you doing?
Good to meet you.
Well, we had a couple of questions if you got time today.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, well, we'll start off and ask you how you got started in the music business.
So I was working as a street musician in Paris, sitting on my backside in the metro playing guitar. And before I left for Paris, I had sent some cassettes around to publishing companies. And one of them found its way to Mutt Lange, the producer. And he liked the keyboard playing on the tape. And he was in New York producing Foreigner 4 album. And he flew me to New York, and I played keyboards on that album, including songs like Urgent and Waiting for a Girl Like You. And that's really how I got started in the music business.
Well, you were doing a lot of session work over the years for a lot of different kind of bands. You know, I know you worked with like Def Leppard and George Clinton. And was that just because your playing was so great that these people seeked you out, or how did that all come about?
I don't think I'm that great a player, but I come up with interesting parts and sounds, and that's probably why they sought me out. And I've always enjoyed it. You know, I like the challenge of playing a different style of music. It forces me to sort of dig deep and find a different approach.
Well, when you started releasing your own solo stuff, were you surprised by the success when She Blinded Me with Science came out?
Yes. I never really viewed myself as a mainstream pop act. All of my heroes were fairly culty, kind of esoteric acts like Frank Zappa, Captain Beefheart, Van Morrison, Joni Mitchell, and I never really took any notice of where they got to in the charts. But I always thought that I would be a cult artist, not a mainstream pop artist. So when She Blinded Me with Science went top 5, I was more surprised than anybody.
Yeah. So in that regard, when people might consider you to be a one-hit wonder, does that bother you at all? Or because you've had other success, maybe you're not so worried about that?
I mean, they have to be really ignorant to say that. No, I mean, I'm seriously. And also in other countries, I had other songs that were hits, you know, bigger hits than She Blinded Me with Science. Like in the UK, Hyperactive was higher in the charts than Science, and so they don't see that. But then, you know, I mean, it doesn't bother me deeply, because I think that the moment you look below the surface, or if you punch in Wikipedia into your browser, you're going to find there's a lot of other stuff that I did.
Right. Well, when you mentioned that Hyperactive, we read somewhere that was originally written for Michael Jackson. Is there any truth to that? Or?
Yeah, that's correct. I met Michael when I was editing the video for She Blinded Me with Science. He was next door editing Billie Jean. And we became friends, actually, and I visited him in California. And he was just making an album called Victory with his brothers. And he asked me if I could write a song, and so I wrote Hyperactive. And I sent it to him about 2 weeks later. You know, I said, "So what do you think of the song?" He said, "I like the drums." I said, "Well, can I send you anything else?" And he said, "Can you get me some rag work for my llamas?" and that was the last I heard from Michael Jackson.
Man, that's...
Wow.
Can you tell us a bit about your side I don't know if maybe you wouldn't call it a side project, but when you were with Dolby's Cube, can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, I mean, after working with George Clinton, I decided to do a sort of one-off record called May the Cube Be With You with George Clinton and Lena Lovitch. And it was a bit different from the mainstream of what I was doing, so we gave it a name of its own, and we called it Dolby's Cube.
Yeah, we're big fans of the Howard the Duck soundtrack, so that's when we first were familiar with Dolby's Cube on there.
Oh, me too. And, I think that soundtrack deserves a better movie.
Yeah, I guess that movie has kind of gotten beaten up over the years, but you're right, the soundtrack is awesome, at least.
It was just ahead of its time. It's all Howard the Duck. You know. Who knows? It might get a posthumous Oscar.
Well, you had a lot of stuff going on musically in the 80s, obviously, but then it seems like in the early 90s you kind of left the music scene. Would you consider that to be the case, or?
Yeah, I got fed up with the music scene in the 90s. I think the writing was on the wall in the early 90s for the music industry, because, you know, the first downloads were starting to happen, and record sales were slowing down. You know, that the record labels' pricing policy on CDs was starting to bite them. And everything was sort of going into recession in the music business. But in Silicon Valley, things were booming. And so I went where the action is. And I'd always worked with technology companies, but I decided to form my own. And so I founded a company called Beatnik. And I never really intended it to take years and years, but one thing led to another, and I ended up staying there about 15 years.
I was surprised to learn this, that you had quite a bit to do with the ringtones for mobile phones and that.
Well, yeah, the Beatnik synthesizer, which is a piece of technology which I co-designed, got licensed by most of the major phone manufacturers to do sound in their phones. And it was embedded in the end in about 3 billion mobile phones.
Wow. So I suppose that's kept you busy for quite a while there.
It did, and it, it ceased to become interesting to me, really. At the beginning, we were very creative, and we made some fascinating interactive music apps, very much like the ones that are showing up now on iPhones and iPads and things. And as time went on, it became a less interesting business, as it became more lucrative. But I was itching to get back to music, and so that's why in the middle of the noughties, I headed back to England and quit Beatnik and got back into music again.
Yeah, you've got a new album out now. Could you tell us a bit about that?
It's called A Map of the Floating City, and I recorded it in England in my garden in a studio that I have on a converted lifeboat. I have to explain, I live on the beach facing the North Sea, and it's a very low-lying area, and we flood from time to time, so I couldn't have a shed in the garden the way a lot of, self-respecting former pop stars do. And so I bought a lifeboat off eBay, and I got local boat builders to convert it for me and put a studio in it. And it's solar and wind powered. It has a turbine and solar panels on the roof. And that's where I made my album. It took about 3 years to make and just come out. And so Map of the Floating City is the name.
Crazy.
Yeah. Did you find it hard after being out of the studio for so many years to get back to work, or is it just kind of secondhand?
No, I think it's a lot easier these days, really. I mean, for a start, because the technology exists to make an album on your laptop, you don't need a label to fund you anymore, and you also don't need a label to distribute you. You just hit a button and upload it, and you can reach millions of fans. That's the upside. The downside is there's 20,000 other guys trying to do the same thing.
Exactly.
Well, you got a new tour in the works, too, for this album, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be going on tour, starting at South by Southwest Festival, and then around the country, anti-clockwise. And I'm touring with a band, and it's going to be great to be back in front of audiences again.
Awesome. Do you plan on just doing mostly stuff from the new album, or is it going to be kind of just an overrun of your career, or what can we expect?
I'm going to do half a dozen songs from the new album and tell the stories behind them. And a lot of older stuff, favorite old songs. We play Europa and the Parrot Twins, Hyperactive, One of Our Submarines, Blind Moon Science. Some favorite old songs as well. So it's a good mixture. But I steer very clear of the sort of rewind type 80s revival thing. I think that's kind of an admission that you've got nothing interesting to say in 2012. But I really do, and I think some of my best music is still ahead of me.
Yeah, definitely. And that seems like a lot of people nowadays, it's easy to go back to that and just kind of rehash the same stuff. But yeah, it's awesome that you're out there and, making new music. And
yeah, so people should come down to the shows if they can. It's called the Time Capsule Tour, and I'm bringing this amazing trailer, which we tow behind the bus, and it looks like H.G. Wells and Nikola Tesla designed it. And you can sit in this trailer and record a personal video message to the future. And all of those, they're 30-second clips. Anybody can come down and make one. And those video clips go onto a YouTube channel, and the most popular ones win prizes. And we're actually going to make a time capsule which is sent off into space.
Wow.
Wow, that's definitely more involved than just going out there and playing the old hits. Definitely. Well, awesome. Do you have any other upcoming projects or anything that you're working on?
No, that's keeping me busy at the moment. I'm involved in the TED conference, if you know about that, which is this amazing conference where people speak for 18 minutes about a variety of topics. And I've been the music director of the TED conference for 10 years. And if you go to TED.com, you can download these talks, and people find them very addictive. They're great for your morning commute to work or while you're on the treadmill at the gym, and very intelligent stuff and fascinating. And I do the music for them.
That's pretty cool. I did not know that, but the TED conference is a pretty interesting thing.
Well, do you have any parting words for us before we let you go?
No, I think that's just about it. Great talking to you guys, and hope your listeners can come down to the gigs.
All right.
All right,
That
thanks.
should do it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.